is going on, RotoGrinders? Right now, the start of 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. Yeah, my apologies. We're just a couple minutes late, and do want to say hello and what's up to the chat. The chat is speculating on why we're late. And Andrews says something pretty funny. Probably stuck in winter traffic. I can't say that. I'm currently in South Florida. That's not the case. But Kirk Dees, a.k.a. Kid Yahoo. By the way, as a make good, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it up to you guys. Our apologies for being a few minutes late. We're going to give you a chance to win a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. How do you go about doing that? Jump in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go into the live stream chat channel, and you see producer Steve has a post. Just, it's not a thumb. It's actually just click the RG logo. The RG logo, several people have already clicked it. It doesn't say producer Steve. You can't piece it together. He's in pink. It's Steve, HOF. Just click the logo. You're good to go. Your name will go on the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel in about an hour or so. We're going to give out probably two, depending on how many likes we get. Probably two. We'll probably round up, give out two, at least one individual week of RG Premium. Kirkwood's here. Kid Yahoo. You're probably freezing pretty good up there in Boston. Did you see the story about DeAndre Ayton? I thought that was from The Onion. That was a real story, right? As far as how he did not play last game because he was locked in his house. Like he was iced out. His block was like full of ice. And
it's like when it's like when it snows in Texas, like in Houston or something. Like everything just shuts down.
The city's not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. Supposedly that they sent like members from the team or not people a part of the organization to come pick him up, but they couldn't. His neighborhood, the way it was set up, where they couldn't get him out. He was like locked in from the snow. I mean, that's taking tanking to a whole new form. Yeah, that was pretty wild. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
I'll give you a quick little thing. So last weekend on Saturday morning, Bobby got me to wake up at freaking the crack of dawn so we could take our kids to Sky Zone to jump on trampolines.
Oh, Bobby, he was back out last time and he did that. Okay, but go ahead.
Well, so he went last weekend. And it was like a hurricane outside and like windy and I tried to set it up. Like, you realize there's a hurricane. Like, I thought he'd be like, yeah, let's not go. He was like, yep, we'll be there. See you there. And I was like, all right. So
less people.
My girl and take my boy. And when we were trying to get there and the whole street to it is flooded and shut down, there was a truck in the way and they're like, you can't go here. You can't go here. You got to go on. And so I couldn't get there. And we ended up, the kid's crying. My girlfriend's pissed because it's a brand new car, her car. And I'm telling her to go anyway through, you know what I mean? And yeah. And we went home. So we got up early at the crack of dawn for nothing.
What is early? What is the crack of dawn on the weekend?
Well, for me, crack of dawn. It was to be there for 8:30. So that means, we had to.
Yeah, I guess crack of dawn. Technically, dawn is usually 6 o'clock or so.
5 a.m.
Right?
or
you want to get all
6
technical?
5 or 6, yeah.
Is that when the sun officially starts creeping up? Is that technically what dawn is? I think that's what dawn is. I don't think so. Maybe somebody in the chat can clarify.
We'll have to ask TJ from what is it?
Saskatoon. He's one of the greatest DFS players of all time in Saskatoon, Canada.
They call him the Saskies.
I don't think they do. I think you're making that up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is not the case. The Rough Riders is the name of their football team, but that's like the name of half the CFL football teams are called the Rough Riders. We don't care about CFL football tonight. We care about NBA, the association, the National Basketball Association, 7-gamer, kind of split up, right? 5 early, 2 late. Pacers on the back half, but back-to-back in one of those late games. They're the only team in the back half. There's 4 teams in the front half. The Spurs, who are going to rest Wembanyama, the Hornets, the Sixers, and the Hawks, and they're without Trae Young. The Hawks being without Trae Young in the front end of a back-to-back, and stories already out there about DeJounte Murray on the trade block. I thought that was a weird – was it Chris Haynes? It's like, breaking news. Milwaukee's interested in DeJounte Murray. Is that breaking news? Is that even news? Maybe. I don't know. Is that breaking news? Something has to happen for there to be breaking news, right? Am I wrong to say that? Maybe I'm being too harsh here.
It's
not really news.
But everyone should go all in on this kid just the fact that he doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't do anything like that.
I saw that.
This kid, and he's young and he's so talented and has such great like length. Doesn't have the girth that you like, but he does have the length and the shot. And yeah, people should be dying for him, and I'm sure they will be.
This it's over for the Hawks. The Hawks have hit this is the best they can do, and they probably are. Well, they're getting worse, right? They were better last year.
I thought it was their time when they went all in with Gallinari. I thought they were going to really do it. You know?
And I'm on record as like I think Trae Young is one of the most overrated players in basketball. Like he's a good fantasy guy, sure, but does Trae Young really help you win a lot? I don't think so.
He's like Isaiah Thomas was to us, but he's like a little better, like a better.
Well, no, Isaiah Thomas was on winning teams, so I guess you can also argue the reason why.
IT3, not.
Oh, that Isaiah Thomas. Oh, okay.
Boston.
Okay. Yeah. Different conversation. Oh, those teams are so much fun. The Boogie and then the IT2 teams. I enjoyed those a good bit.
Well, he was the best kept secret for off the bench for DFS. Like people didn't know he was great.
And then he went to Boston, and he just midnight struck really fast, right? Didn't he become like one of the worst player in the league like instantly? Isn't that what happened?
Well, that happened, but he was incredible for a good period for us, you know, when it was IT time, whatever. He's beloved here.
Was there a team he went to after Boston where he was the worst player in basketball? There, it was very quick. He became the worst player in basketball.
He went down. Then when he got shipped out for Kyrie.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But he was hurt. He went to. Didn't he go to the Cavs? Or
that might have been it. It might have been the Cavs. But it was a rough fall for Isaiah Thomas. TJ saying in chat, Washington and Brooklyn? Is that, or is he answering a different question? I don't remember him on Washington. I remember him in Cleveland. But you know what? Let's talk about tonight's slate. Isaiah Thomas, we cannot play.
He was on Denver, wasn't he? He was on Denver at one point.
He was on a lot of teams for basically the same reason. He was bad. Like, well, this guy used to be good. Let's give him a shot. Nope, he's terrible now. I get he's free. Okay, sure. Why not? Wow, he is terrible. Got to release him again. Yeah, his hip was messed up according to Steel Tooth. Yeah, I think he did have an injury.
We got rid of him. It was perfect timing.
Yeah, he was fun though. I enjoyed watching him and Cousins. Cousins is a podcast now, by the way. I did see him recently talking with doesn't matter. Just check it out if you guys care about Boogie Cousins. One of my favorite players in the last 10, 15 years or so. I think Andy, Lakers. I'm pretty sure Andy Means named his dog after Cousins. His name is Boogie. And like he's probably like 10 years now, 10 years old. It sort of dates the story. Okay. Tonight we have the Pacers playing in a late game. And as it was last night, a lot of guys that are questionable. We don't know about Halliburton. Halliburton did not come back for his revenge game. It seems like there's a decent chance he comes back tonight. We do know we're expecting Pascal Siakam to make his debut for Indiana. Isaiah Jackson hit his head last night, and he's still out today. He did not come back last night. He was concussed. Nembhard also out, but Mathurin is questionable in the back-to-back. Obi Toppin is questionable. Aaron Naismith is questionable. And this game is late. On the other side of that game, the Blazers, they're expecting to get DeAndre Ayton back. I guess the snow has melted. We're good to go now. He can leave his house. But Anthony Simons is ill. He had the fish, so he is questionable. And that's kind of a big deal. And again, this is a late game. There are 2 late games, but we're probably not going to get that news until somewhere in the middle of the slate as it's going on throughout the evening. Jaime Jaquez has got that. What's up?
Kyle Murray yapping in chat over here. I see you.
About what?
Bad mouth in Boston.
Does Dean only do? I mean, there's no Boston exclusivity, but I suppose it's happened before. Yeah. Well, yourself and Bobby are Boston based, but
we also are friends. We are aligned with the Saskies.
Yes. I don't know that the Saskies exist, but yeah, we're all over the place. We got all 4.
What's crazy,
corners, right?
and I didn't address this yet. What's crazy is that they separated. There has been a big meeting, a powwow, and they separated me and Chop from working together.
Rightfully so. I think it was a good call.
What do you mean? Like, give us a probation and let's get back to
it. TJ said he got kicked off GrindersLive today. I thought it was the Taylors today. Is TJ not coming on later? Wait a second. I thought it's Taylor and TJ coming on later. At least that's what the graphic was. Was there a late swap? Somebody let me know if that's what's happening. Maybe Kyle's coming in. Not really sure. Duncan Robinson apparently hurt his ankle today at practice, so he's questionable. Jaime Jaquez has a groin, so he's doubtful. The big one, of course, Atlanta, they're without Trae Young. Tons of usage to go around there. The matchup not great versus Miami, but you're going to get some Hawks in your lineup. From a watchability perspective, Denver and Boston, probably the best game of the night. I assume that's the first half of the ESPN doubleheader. And Boston, with all their fake injuries, it's a miracle. Everybody's recovered. Porzingis is fine. White's fine. They're full go. They still are undefeated at home this season. I think they've yet to lose. Is it like 21-0 so far this year? Does that sound about right? I think that's the number. And Denver has not been spectacular on the road for whatever that's worth. But anything else you want to focus on as far as the slate? Philadelphia, Orlando is here, but nothing great, but certainly some pieces that are going to be neglected. It feels like a smaller slate to me, than 7 games, just because some games are clearly more interesting than others. But I'm curious what you have when it comes to your overview, your screenshots. And Spurs, I did mention Wembanyama being out. Zach Collins expected to come back tonight. I'm curious how many minutes they give him. Are they just going to give him like 28, 30 minutes or so? Because he could be really interesting, but the minutes feel a little dicey. I'd love to get a report on that. But what do you got here, Kirkwood, before we go game by game?
Well, it seems like the slate has been narrowed down to like 2 games as of right now.
Yeah.
Which is Charlotte, San Antonio, which is an incredible game environment, probably a little better without Wembanyama. So from a competitive, so this Charlotte can be so bad, but LaMelo's back. So first of all, like their pace is much faster with LaMelo playing. Spurs are such fast paced. Both teams horrendous defensively. Hornets dead last. Spurs 24th, but probably worse without Wembanyama. And then we get the Hawks Miami game. All the value with Trae being out. So it feels like that's the main slate right there. Like, and then we're gonna have to find some plays on how to beat them.
All right. I guess TJ was coming on. Was he coming on GrindersLive? Was there a shakeup? Were you not supposed to be here today, Kirkwood? Is that what's going on? Were you a late spot?
On the schedule? No, I'm not. I've been on all week on the schedule. Chop and I already went through, and we're like, look, they even gave Kirky a 2-man alone.
You got some extra usage tonight, Kirk.
We were almost going to say Chop was going to ask them if he could come on the show, just so they would have to say yes or no.
Just like make a cameo appearance, you mean? Just sort of jump on.
Just say, can I go on that show? There's only 2 of them. Can I?
I think the probation. I have no idea what's going on. Maybe it's just a big old coincidence. Nobody tells me anything, but it might be a good idea. Bobby and chat.
Bobby's such a Boston hater. They'll lose tonight. It's God. Somebody claim him. Get him out of Boston.
One of the sports books, I think it was DraftKings, put out a line if Boston can go the entire season undefeated at home, which seems like a crazy thought, but can't remember what the number was, but I thought it was interesting. There's even a line out there.
But that tweet was about how the bet is such a bad bet because you just bet them every game. They would have to be minus 600 per game for that to be even the number.
Yeah. I didn't fully think. I just kind of I was scrolling through and I happened to notice it. But yeah, 20-0 at home on the season, which that's pretty. As a team probably has never gone. I'm imagining they've never gone 41-0 at home, right? I can't imagine. I know the Bulls and the Warriors had those seasons where they lost 8 or 9 games, but they had to lose at least 1 game at home, I imagine. But anyways, what do you got? Give me something else that we're monitoring. News is dropping, by the way, somewhat news. Bryce McGowan's is not playing tonight. Brandon Miller is available. I didn't mention the Charlotte stuff. Richards, I think, is still questionable, right? Did we get anything on Nick Richards? I think that one would matter.
That matters.
Yeah,
I'm saying PJ would get the big old bump.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't.
Why don't we just look for an if then and see what do we got cooking over there?
We got some if then stuff. There's just a lot of things up in the air, and a lot of it happened recently. So we have an if then for Simons, Jeremy Grant.
That's big. Anthony Simons.
The Brogdon revenge game might be real. That might happen tonight. We'll see. I think Brogdon's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. We have an if then for that. We have an if then for Brandon Miller. That one is already expired, but we have one if Richards is out. Washington would get the biggest bump. LaMelo already looks good. Rozier looks pretty good. Bridges looks good. there would be 4 positive values, RG values on the Charlotte side. Yeah, Duncan Robinson, not a big deal. It's mostly the big 3 there for Miami: Bam, Jimmy, and Hero. All right, let's just dive in. Let's do it game by game. Anything, unless you have anything else as far as the overview.
Nope, game by game.
All right, Spurs, Hornets, 235.5 is a total, pretty big number. It's high and it's reasonably tight. It will be tighter if Wembanyama is playing, but he's not playing. He's resting so he can play tomorrow. I did see a note, by the way, put it in your back pocket. Apparently, his minutes are now 24 to 27 minutes, I believe, now for Wemby. So maybe he plays 27 minutes tomorrow night. I don't know, which is like every minute for him matters because the dude puts up like 9 fantasy points per minute, give or take 9. Okay, so we just got news on the Hornets. Richards, we don't know yet, but McGowan's is out. That's not a big deal. He would have mattered, I guess, if both Richards and Miller were out, but Miller is in. Mark Williams, of course, still out. Hayward's still out. For San Antonio, Wemby is out. Is Collins questionable or in? I thought he was in. Zach Collins. Do we have an official ruling on him? And yeah, I'll just throw it to you. You've kind of talked about how this game is, not great if you want to market how spectacular basketball is necessarily, but you probably want to watch the Denver, Boston game if you like just basketball. You don't care about DFS. We care about DFS. This is a game that the DFSers are going to love for sure. Yeah, where do you want to start? Charlotte and San Antonio feels like a pretty fun little game stack, and you can do yourself a 2-2 pretty easily if you want to make something like that work.
This is our Super Bowl right here, everybody. This is where it's at. Not for the rest of the world, but for our DFS community. Like I said, it's the Spurs play so fast, third in pace. Hornets are not so fast, but they play much faster with LaMelo, so they should be right back to run and gun. Both teams horrendous defensively. Both teams horrendous at defending the 3-point line. Hornets give up a ton of blocks, and the Spurs give up a bunch of steals. So just mix and match, like all the. Plus, you got Wemby out, so there's value for the Spurs, and then and I think LaMelo at 8,800, even though 31 minutes. What do we have? Are we giving him any sort of bump, or are we capping it here?
I think he's going to get a little more than 31, assuming this game doesn't get goofy. Yeah, we're giving him 34.
We got him at 34. Yep.
He lost the last few minutes of last game because of blowouts. So he would have got to like 34, 35, I believe. Yeah. So
his usage is insane. So it's as lead as it gets. 40%, 35%, 38% in the last 3 games. I mean, that's like Embiid level usage right there. Embiid, Luka, and LaMelo. So let's go. So I love LaMelo. I love the Zohan. I love
you love the Zohan, or you're willing to play?
I like the Zohan.
Yeah. Would you mess with the Zohan is the question, though.
I am messing with the Zohan.
That's the important question for sure.
Yes. Even though they say that you do not mess.
Yes, Adam Sandler has taught us well. The 3 games that Ball has come back this year, usage-wise, you kind of referenced it. 40% usage, 35% usage, 37.9% usage.
I literally just read that. I literally just read those 3 numbers.
Did you really? I was. You said all 3 numbers too.
Yes, I didn't just reference it. I actually said those 3 numbers.
Oh my gosh! I was pulling something up. I was trying to multitask. I was reading the chat. I was also pulling up the Court IQ because Ball 31 minutes and 17 seconds last game. The last 3 minutes 30 seconds he sat because it was a blowout, but he was on his way to playing close to 35 minutes. My apologies. Put a big X on the board for me for not listening. But the Hoosiers Hang banner says Spurs and Celtics as far as the 40-1. Let's see. Wait, Spurs and Celtics went 40-1. Nobody's ever gone 41-0 at home for the entire season. Okay. Surprised that the Celtics, that must have been like the 80s Celtics or something like that. Okay. Prioritize it for me as far as this game. Like you talked about liking Sohan. I've seen Champagny hit some lineups. I don't like that. Do you like that? Are you willing to play him? He's just so uncomfortable. He starts, he disappears, but he's still pretty cheap. It's kind of a question of like if value opens up, if it doesn't open up, and also it's early. trying to see what our projection is for Champagne. It's probably not great. Let's see. Yeah, so he's 3.5 and he's got a 17-point projection, median projection, 19 minutes. Is that something we want to marry right at the start of this slate? We want to lock ourselves into that?
Probably not.
I don't like it. I don't want it.
I mean, but look, you need value. He's the classic, the value thing. But I'd rather play like a Trey Jones, but obviously the price.
Sure.
So what are we doing with Zach Collins?
I don't know. We're projecting 26 minutes for him. And when was the last time Collins played? His last game was, let's see, the 29th of last year. You know? Was he in the G League rehabbing at all? I don't know. And we're not giving him a ton of minutes. We're giving him 26. Essentially, we're just giving him Wemby's minutes. I think that's what I'm seeing. Like, he's basically taking Wemby's minutes. And the matchup against Charlotte is awesome. So, and he's a pretty good fantasy point minute player too. 1.06, pretty good usage, 21% as well. So I think he's got to be in the pool. He's center only. I sort of want to play him, but how much are they gonna? Is there a chance he plays 30? And did they say screw it, give him 30 minutes? Is there a ceiling on that? Like, is there room for growth? 26 minutes, is that like the median for you?
So he's coming off of an ankle sprain, right?
Okay.
So you're usually just like good to go, right? So unless you're worried about like his conditioning over that small period of time, either your ankle's healed up or not.
I'd like to get a report from a beat just to let me know that, like, you know, there's no minute limitation, but sometimes those reports are nonsense anyway. But I think it's a good like risk. So is he going to be popular? If he's going to be popular, then I would like pump the brakes. If he's not going to be popular, we get him at 17%. Like I think
he's a strong play at 5,700. I think
so too. Both the centers in this game are good, right? As far as like probably two of the best mid-tier centers on the slate. Richards at 5.2. You talked about the matchup for San Antonio being prime. It's even better in the absence of Wemby. He's a good fantasy point minute player as well. You know, we're talking, a little bit less than a fantasy point per minute, but he's fine, especially when you consider the price. Who's your favorite amongst these two centers? Richards or Collins?
So you're saying Richards? Man, Richards is never good. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wait and see. Is he in? Did they announce him in already? You're saying?
No, but I'm just I'm assuming he's going to be, unless I missed some news.
I was hoping he'd be out, but
who cares?
But regardless, Richards is okay.
Would you play Washington if he was out, Richards?
Yes, I would love Washington.
He's 5'1", power forward, center eligible.
And Miles Bridges.
No.
Miles Bridges.
It's like never start him. He's the other one. Bridges like plays a lot. And he's pretty cheap. 34, 37, 32, 33, 40, 41, 40. A couple of those games there without LaMelo. I don't know if that's a reason why they really fully pushed him, but obviously the Charlotte team is injured. They're not particularly deep anyway. His usage has taken a hit, looks like, with ball coming back. 19%, 23 and 27. 27 pretty strong, 19, not ideal. But yeah, it's a good game. I like this game a fair bit, and I'm probably gonna have several iterations, like 2v2s.
I love Vassell.
Okay. He's your favorite Spur?
Yeah. I mean, you want the scorers, right? Like, he gets buckets, so he's the guy. 6,700 in this game environment, completely reasonable. Ownership's a little high, but that's fine. Can figure out another spot to get a little different. But I like LaMelo, I like Vassell, and I like the Zohan. And I would play Zach. I'm fine with Zach Collins, just hoping for like some extra minutes, unless we hear that he's going to be limited.
If I told you he was playing 28 minutes, no more, no less, I think you play him, right? 28.
Yeah, he should be good at that.
Ownership wise, by the way, this game is not sneaking up on anybody. Sohan is getting 38%, LaMelo 30%, Rozier 25%, Champagne 20%, Vassell 19%, Richards currently 19, Collins 17, Trey Jones 14. I like him too, and Keldon at 11, and Bridges at 10. By the way, Bridges is going to be kind of sneaking, just kind of hanging out down there at 10%. One of the least popular players in this game. Certainly going to get some of him too. 36-minute projection, good matchup. Keldon coming off the bench, still giving him 29 minutes. I'm assuming he's going to come off the bench as he typically does these days with the second unit. All right, we spent a lot of time in that game just because I feel like it's one of the more important games on the slate. This feels like a catch-me-up unless you tell me otherwise. Philadelphia, Orlando, 223 is the total. Philadelphia, they are 6-point favorites here. We just got the news that Springer is ruled out. I don't think that really matters so much. Melton obviously not playing. No Mo Bamba. Nothing new for Orlando. Same deal. Franz Wagner, Gary Harris. They're not playing basketball tonight. We did get an Orlando lineup. They always give us – they're really good at injury reports. They're really good at giving us lineups. If everybody can just follow Orlando. Bataze, Bencaro, Okiki, Houston, Suggs. There are, Embiid feels like an incredible pivot away from if you're going to spend up on a guy like Davis, if you're going to spend up on a guy like Joker or Tatum, like a different position, and he's matchup proof, right? Embiid spectacular. You can smash anybody. We're not afraid of Gogo Bataze per se. He's a big boy. He's got a lot of girth, got a lot of height, but the matchup against Orlando, good defense, slower pace. This game is going to be mostly ignored. We don't make a lot of lineups. I'm assuming you make one, Kirkwood. You make one lineup tonight.
Yeah.
Probably not prioritizing a lot of players in this game. Feel free to tell me otherwise. Your thoughts. Philadelphia, Orlando.
The one that looks the best. I think this game is a pass pretty much for the most part. Orlando plays such good defense. Philly plays great defense. You can get cute if you want and go here, but I don't think you have to. Like Wendell, like the best play on Orlando, at least what it looks like, is like Wendell Carter Jr., but this is a guy with like a minutes limit right now. So like what's the real ceiling on him? I think plus he's playing Embiid and foul trouble and all of that, and he's handsy. Embiid won his NBA championship the other night, so this is a good letdown spot. The game after he won a regular season game against Joker.
His streak is over too. The 30-10 streak is over that he had going for 10 or 11, 12, 13 games, whatever it was. He could not get any rebounds against.
Shout out to Squad Rides who had me bet the 30 and over 10.
Well, Denver didn't miss. I think neither team was missing, right? And the rare time they did miss, Joker would get the rebound or somebody else would get the rebound. Yeah, Embiid, I think he had like 7 or so, something like that. It wasn't even close. Wasn't even a sweat. He just never got there, unfortunately.
Little Fultz revenge.
I didn't. Yeah, okay, sure. He's fine, right? He got the 30 minutes last game. That's noteworthy, right? 30 minutes for Markelle Fultz. I don't know if that's something we can assume is going to be repeatable. It's going to happen again. We're projecting 27 for what it's worth. We are giving Wendell Carter a fair bit of ownership, which is kind of surprising to me. 20%. This stuff, of course, is fluid. It will change as we close in on lock. I think that's a little high. But that's just me, and that's not my job to figure that stuff out. That is the highest projected play. Then Fultz, Okiki at 10%, another player that just I do not want to play Okiki. Joe Ingles, I do not want to play Joe Ingles. We're giving 8% to Embiid and like 8% for Bencaro, and the Bencaro role right now is awesome. Yeah. So, and was it last game where he just missed a bunch of shots? 35%, 33%, 29%, 42%. I think it was last game where he missed a bunch of shots, right? Where he was pretty popular. 8 for 25, which was not ideal against Atlanta. Yeah. I think he was really popular in that slate, and he was shooting. That's all you can ask for. Opportunity. Just missed the pile. But if you're making, if you're running 150, I'm sure TJ is going to be on later. I imagine he's running a bunch of lineups, maybe Taylor as well. And TJ probably has some of these players in the pool. And it's not hard to get over the field on players like Embiid, on players like Bencaro. Probably fun to pair them together. Of course, the rest of your lineup could be a bit tricky because we do live in the world of a salary cap, and those guys are both quite pricey. Anything else you want to say as far as Philly and Orlando?
No, I mean, like the two two plays that could go off are Embiid and Boncaro, but I'm all set with them both in this spot. I'm skipping this game. So I think you could play Fultz. You could play Wendell Carter, but I don't see like the upside for Wendell Carter, especially when he's getting ownership and just the minutes limit. So no, I'm not excited. I'm more excited about this next game if we're in the right
Yeah,
order.
let's do it. Denver versus your Boston Celtics. Bobby Gomes' Boston Celtics sometimes, depending if they're on the road, maybe it's Bobby Gomes' Boston Celtics.
This is not Bobby Gomes' Celtics.
233.5 is the total. Both teams on an island game. This has got to be the TV game. I didn't look, but I assume you have the league pass as well. You got to splurge the $200. Actually, I think DK hooked a lot of people up with that.
No, DK hooked me up, but then I had to buy it anyway because I wanted the YouTube TV version so I could do the multi-games.
Brilliant marketing. You ever thought of that? Just like, yeah, let's get people to – because you want to be able to tilt and watch the stuff you're wagering on. But, yeah, so 233 is the total here. Denver versus Boston. Boston, 7-point favorite, which, again, feels kind of steep, but Boston just does not lose at home, or at least they haven't just yet. And I think Denver has been kind of rough on the road, like by their standards. They're 11-10 on the road, which is, that's probably better than most teams, but still a little bit disappointing. Island game. Do we think we get some extra minutes, right? Do we think this is are both teams going to show up and let's play this out as like a teaser of like a what if this was the NBA Finals? You got the TV games, the national TV games, extra time for commercials, got more commercials, maybe a little bit more rest. If you want to make that argument, I think you can get an extra minute or so out of Joker, that kind of thing. Like we're currently projecting, 35. Maybe I could see him playing 37, right? But the matchups here, not great, not spectacular, right? You said you're excited about it. You excited to just watch it, or are you excited to roster DFS players in this game?
I'm excited to watch it. One, I think it's going to be a great game, but I want to figure out how to play this. And so that's what we're going to talk about now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, because, you look at this, right? So this is the same total as the Spurs Hornets game, which is crazy. So, and like you said, this should be a competitive game. These teams, this should play more, or at least a little bit closer to like a playoff game, not necessarily the full way, because, the benches don't get used as much in the playoffs, but I think you can give some extra minutes in this game if it stays tight. Obviously, the Celtics, it usually ends up being tight at some point because their three-point variance is insane. They take the most threes. I hate it. I hate how they live and die by the three, but they're just open threes. So you got to shoot them most of the time. So anyway, I think this game is very playable. Like Tatum could go off in this game on ESPN here. I don't really like Joker against the Celtics D. I think Horford's going to play a lot on him. Obviously, he could do well, but Derek White seems cheap. Jamal Murray, I don't like the price, but
none of the prices are great. But that's everybody's going to be less than 10% owned. That's the appealing angle.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to picture. I think Porzingis could have a big game in this game.
Current ownership projections, by the way. Reggie Jackson allegedly is going to be 14% owned in this game, which, okay. Tatum at 9%. I like the Tatum call. I would never besmirch or discourage Joker. I don't know if you're getting an optimal Joker game, but I do think there's a path to him playing 37, 38 as opposed to 35. We got Tatum projected at 37, but he might play 38-ish. Gordon at 34, White 33. It's just going to be, super condensed, both rotations, I think. You mentioned Murray expected for 35 minutes. Nobody playing him at 3%. I think you're supposed to get more of this if you're playing a bunch of lineups than the field. And it's really, really not hard. And I might make a single entry lineup with, just have some fun, because nobody's going to have that route of, I don't know if I'm going to get Tatum, but maybe, I think Tatum's the guy I'm going to try to get. I don't know if I'm going to get the Joker. Probably not. I'd like to try to run it back with somebody else, or maybe just a a la carte piece of Tatum. because he's going to be just unowned in single entry stuff, far as I can tell. Yeah, but like I feel like it's gonna be a fun game, and I know this stuff's not, obviously, how do you quantify all the elements that we're talking about? Like, yeah, this is like sort of a sneak peek of a potential final. I just feel like they just prioritize this more than a Tuesday night in Portland. That's just, and how do projections capture that? Or maybe I'm just trying to create my own narrative. I don't know, but I can see a path where it's just the Stars playing an extra minute or two, if not more, than they typically are used to. Both teams well rested, not playing today, did not play yet. They are playing today, not playing tomorrow, did not play yesterday. Anything else you got as far as Denver, Boston? Favorite play in this game is who?
I don't know. I'm looking at Drew Holiday and his price and absolutely zero ownership. But like, this is a game they could like totally lean on. Like, he's going to have to play a boatload of minutes for defensive reasons. Like, are they going to put him on Joker to start? That would be hilarious.
I don't know.
I mean, they do that.
I mean, that would be interesting. Wait, are we thinking that Horford's not going to start the game? I guess that's the expectation.
I don't think Horford's going to start the game.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe they announced it that way, but
yeah. Who would not start if
it would be either
White? I guess
it would be White or it would be White. I'm sure.
Holiday, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, and Horford. Yeah, that's but yeah, Horford. I'm not that we're playing Horford, but Horford's like the guy they're going to throw on him the most, I would imagine. And you could use the same argument for KCP. Not that you want to roster KCP, but they're probably going to have to need him to play a boatload of minutes too for his defensive ability. But we shall move on. Let's see. Collins is starting. Okay, yeah, we expected Collins to start for San Antonio, right? I don't think that was. Oh, well, he's officially in, so I guess he was questionable at some point. Zach Collins is going to start, but like that's the way we projected it. We assumed that like he was going to play and start. It's just a matter of, does that enhance his minutes? I don't know. Again, I think there's a chance he plays 28 minutes, and if he plays 28 minutes, I feel pretty good about that.
Yep.
We got anything else here?
I think there's extra upside there. No.
All right, 8:00, Phoenix, New Orleans. This is one of those games that, like, on paper, it should be interesting. 237, another, two good, reasonably good teams in the West. Pelicans, 2-point favorites, high and tight, but I think it's going to be kind of, sort of, somewhat neglected on this slate. Bull Bulls not available for Phoenix, doesn't matter. New Orleans is fully healthy, and that's part of the reason why. New Orleans, I don't think is going to be terribly popular. Zion's got a good price on FanDuel, I believe, but let me see ownership-wise. I'm going to get a refresh if anything new is coming in. Yeah, so Zion's getting 12% ownership on DK, and that's it. Nobody
in this game unowned from here on, from there on out. Yeah, it's
just not owned, and I kind of get it, but like certainly there are paths where we can get a huge game out of Booker or Ingram. We've seen Ingram put up some big scores this year. McCollum just not going to get played. Is that the way you see it too? Like, I'm a little bit concerned, but if no one else is playing it, then it's just like, who cares? But somebody's going to play it in the large field stuff, of course. But I don't know how. But Zion getting 21% on FanDuel. Yeah, that 7-7 price is pretty good. Besides that, though, nobody above 7% on FanDuel ownership wise currently. What do you got? Phoenix and New Orleans. Like, there's not a lot of good math plays here, but certainly there's some stars playing.
Yeah, Zion obviously rates out as the best play from this game, but for the low ownership, if you keep going down, any of these guys, like Kevin Durant, could go off in the spot, especially since Booker probably has Herb Jones on him. So, I mean, that could be more of a reason for Durant. I mean, Durant just hasn't – he had one game back in like 12-27 against Houston when he went absolutely nuts for 74 fantasy points and like has just been dud after dud for the most part, for at least from his salary standpoint.
He's 35, by the way. He's getting up there. Still really good, 35.
It's those legs, man. It's those legs.
Yeah.
It's a lot of miles on those legs.
I mean, not everybody can be LeBron and still smashing the world at 39. It's the path that he's created.
He does look older than he is, though, too, doesn't he? Like with his hairline
Durant?
and like, no, yeah, Durant, don't you think?
Or LeBron? I don't know. You're talking about both of them?
No, both, but Durant.
Michael's asking about Valanciunas, maybe more run with Nurkic. What's interesting is like Nance has been like the guy. Yeah,
I think J-Val could, if they wanted to, he could absolutely go off in this matchup.
Well, you say if they want to, it's like how many minutes are they going to give him is sort of the question. And what is our split? What are we giving the split as far as J-Val versus Nance? We're giving Nance 21. We're giving Valanciunas 25. 2 minutes without either one of them. Yeah, I think Nance is the one that's like a more interesting dart. But certainly when Valanciunas is given an opportunity, he's certainly put up those games where he chops like a 15-15 or so. But I'm just not going to pay 7-1.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody else is either, for the record.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm
I
not
can't do
actually going to play him.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying
what's up with Grayson Allen?
I had him that night where he went nuts, but like it wasn't like there was nothing I saw where it's like, oh man, this is the game where Grayson Allen goes crazy.
You saw 37 minutes and a cheap price tag, or 35 minutes and a cheap price tag.
Yeah, it wasn't. I just kind of luck boxed into it,
and then he nails 9 threes.
He took 14. He took 14 threes that game. Yeah, it's just the old
Grayson Allen or Peter Jennings.
I have not dug into that, but that's got to be pretty cool for CSU. Is Gilbert Arenas and who else is involved in that? There, I saw him doing some commentary. Martin, Kmart, what's his name? His kid's in the league too. Kenyon Martin.
Kenyon.
Yeah. That they were doing some commentary and watching CSU, which is pretty fun. Oh, Halliburton's in tonight. That's interesting. All right. I wonder if there's any sort of minutes issues. I bet Indiana last night -4.5 versus Portland. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I know it's back to back, and I thought like at least one of those guys was going to be playing, Pascal or Halliburton, and like the Blazers are kind of terrible. But all right, I think that line is moved for what it's worth. But okay,
we'll get there. Sacramento, huh?
Sacramento, they got their playoffs. They wanted to make the playoffs. They got to the playoffs, and good for them. And they like the beam, and that's pretty fun. And
their basketball is so rough. Their bench is so rough. I mean, and even some of
their starters, Harry Barnes and Herter, not great.
Herter was good last night, but
in general, though, like Harry Barnes it's over for Harry Barnes. Yeah. Anyways, we're talking about New Orleans.
Siakam's in.
Yeah. I just said that. How about that? Now we're even. 1-1. I
know, and I was just reiterating what you said.
Why didn't I say that when you called me on not listening? That would have worked out for me. Are we going to get news on the rest of the Indiana pieces? Because that's not just one. Pascal, we expected to play. Halliburton, that's cool. He's going to be back. That'll be fun. And I'm really curious. Are we going to get full minutes at Halliburton? Is he going to play 33 versus Portland? Because that could be a lot of fun. Anyways, we're done with Phoenix and New Orleans, right? We just don't have a lot here to like, the way I see it.
Like this slate really is like a two game slate.
I feel like we shouldn't do that, but
I know.
Yeah, but is that what everybody's doing? Because this is the game that people are going to talk about. We love the Spurs and the Hornets, of course, and we're going to love the Atlanta, at least the Atlanta side, with the absence of Trae Young. By the way, I should mention about 10 minutes or so, we're going to go ahead and give away a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. If you get enough likes, hit that like button. Hit the like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We do appreciate all that. Let us keep the lights on. Notifications let you know when we go live. And if we get enough, we'll give away two individual weeks of our RG Premium. All the bells, all the whistles, everything you're seeing Producer Steve showing off on the screen, the ownership stuff, the articles. And by the way, it's not just basketball, football, baseball. Well, not baseball. Do the math. It's still like 70 days away, and we're giving away just a week. But you know what I mean. MMA, golf, all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. NASCAR is a la carte, but I think that does not start until after the Super Bowl. What do you have to do that? Just jump into Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Producer Steve has a post set up, just says drop an RG logo on this message in capital letters. So you can sing it. To be entered in the giveaway, just hit the RG emblem. He will take your screen name, throw it on a wheel, spin that wheel in about 10, 15 minutes or so. We'll give away a couple weeks of RG Premium. Let's try to get him in, on time. We don't want Steve scrambling at the last second. He's got to multitask. It's a whole process. A lot of things he's got to do to set it up. Let's talk about Atlanta. Atlanta taking on Miami Heat in South Beach tonight. Jaime Jaque is not expected to play. He's got that groin. He's officially doubtful. Kevin Love from above, he's available. He's got that knee. He's expected to play. But Duncan Robinson has an ankle. As far as Atlanta, it's basically just Trae Young. Hunter's been out for a while. Obviously nothing there. Wesley Matthews has got a calf. We're expecting Bogdanović to start alongside DeJounte Murray, who's very much on the trade block. Saddiq Bey, Jalen Johnson, potential, I was going to say, what's the award for most improved? I couldn't get there for some reason. Potentially most improved player in the league, Jalen Johnson. He probably won't get it because it's weird the way they vote and that stuff. And then Capella. How much Atlanta is too much Atlanta? The matchup here against Miami is obviously not great, but the volume is pretty strong. Murray, Bogdanović, Bey, they all look really good. Talk to me about the Hawks, and feel free to jump over to the Heat as well.
Yeah, Bogey's going to be the most popular. That's because of his price, and he'll be starting now, and he should have higher minutes. And he's makes a lot of sense to pick up a lot of what Trae does. I think he's a strong play. DeJounte is an easy play. Saddiq Bey should get a boatload of minutes. Jalen Johnson, any of these guys who have any semblance of an offensive game, step right up for the lineups because it's a good spot. Now, didn't the Heat just get absolutely walloped?
I think I bet the Heat. That was the game where they were playing against somebody and some of the other team was ruled out.
And in Toronto, Siakam got traded, and yet Toronto smoked them.
I had closing line value, and that's all that matters. But that was worth $0. They got shellacked.
So I'm expecting the Heat to come out a little better in this one because Spo usually gets the best out of his guys.
Best coach in the league.
Yeah, I think he's probably is or up there.
South Florida's got the best coaches. Daniel.
I don't. Well, can we really claim that at this point?
Yeah,
maybe
because Tua had a bad game and the miserable conditions. All of a sudden, everything that we've seen on McDaniel was fraudulent. Come on, stop it. McDaniel's great.
I mean,
who are you going to throw at me? Who's the best coach in the league? You're going to give me a dude for Detroit? He's biting kneecaps?
No.
Shanahan. You want to give me Shanahan?
Yeah, Shanahan. Yeah, those are all disciples of Shanahan. I think McVay is a good coach.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But I'm talking about as a collective, Yeah.
Okay. I think Spo is incredible. But anyway, so where are we going in this game? What are we doing with this? How many is too many Hawks? Let me see what optimals are shoving out. They're probably shoving out a ton. Yeah, I'm looking here, and I'm seeing 4 Hawks in this lineup. I'm seeing some sites, some competitors.
4 is a lot.
With 5 Hornets, I'm seeing.
I'm not playing 5 Hornets. I promise you I'm not playing 5 Hornets in a lineup. I'm not doing that.
It seems like everybody has it seems like 2 is the minimum for Hawks all the way up to 5.
I just hit the optimal button. Again, I have some bells and some whistles, and I add some some variants. But the very first one I got on DK is 5 Hawks, 2 Hornets, and Jeremy Sohan. There's no way I'm doing this. There's no way I'm playing 5 Hawks. The next one's got 4 and 3 Hornets, and then Jeremy Sohan. 4 Hawks. Yeah.
By the way, remember when everyone thought Brandon Staley was great because he memorized some little one thing on an interview one time?
There are a lot of fraudulent coaches. It was just I like Brandon Staley because he always went for 2. I always appreciate that.
You got to give him time.
Yeah, he was one of the first people to realize, not the first, but he didn't care. Like, go for two because I like math. The coach that wants to punt on the opponent's 45-yard line and 4th and 3, that guy's out. If we're interviewing and you're saying this is what do we do in this situation? We punt. No, you're gone. You're out of the pool. You're not going to be my coach. Anyways,
here's my question for you. My question for you on this game, is it Angry Jimmy come out tonight?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. Like, maybe he's just pacing himself. It's a long season. He's been injured. He's had that toe. He came back from the toe. He had that game where he came back and played like 40 minutes. I know it was overtime. He's got a pretty good price, and the matchup here against Atlanta is really good. And if I'm running 3 Hawks, like theoretically, I want to have at least one run back here for Miami. Game again. He had, what's that?
People were crowning Sirianni too. I'm like this. Chip Kelly, another fraud. I'm reading. I like the. Let's name
Chip Kelly was pretty innovative, though.
All these coaches are frauds.
Well, they can't all be frauds, and like you can't say they're all frauds. And who's good? Like, you're telling me there's not like 10 competent coaches in the entire world?
Here's what just popped in my head. I'm just remember your Dolphins coach that was like
Nick Saban
doing drugs on talking to sending the videos to the chick.
That was like a coordinator, right? I believe it was a coordinator. That wasn't the head coach, was it?
No, but he was.
I remember this vaguely. Yeah,
he slipped in my mind too. He was the coach for the Jets after that.
And he was talking to, it was probably like a prostitute. It was probably like a prostitute that he was like talking to the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know that much about the story, but I remember there was a lot of stuff going on.
But what I'm saying is I'm downgrading the Dolphins a little bit because of that.
Fair
still
enough.
Terrible too.
Bobby is saying Urban Meyer. It was not Urban Meyer. It's a different story. He was never the coach of the Dolphins. Yeah.
It was Adam Gase.
That's who it was?
No, it wasn't Adam Gase. Just
no.
I'll find it.
I don't think so.
Easy.
I think it's a different guy.
Dolphins.
Give me your prioritization here, Kirkland. I know we're distracted now. We're thinking of, but
offensive
how are you
line coach Chris Forster.
And is that guy coaching for the Jets now, or he never got a job anywhere else? I don't
Google it, and if you guys don't know this, like Google it and watch this. Google Dolphins coach cocaine.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't like one of the top coaches. It was just one of the fringe guys. Give me the list of priority for Atlanta players. I think on DK, like dollar for dollar, the best play is Bogdanovich at 5'6". Yeah. I like Murray as well. Murray, it just feels like there's less chance of Bogdanovich, crushing or I guess failing than Murray failing. Okung was pretty interesting. We're chopping it up 28-25, giving a few minutes for overlap as well. And Sadiq Bey feels pretty good in the mid-tier there at 5'5". Like, he's got to play a ton of minutes. All these guys, 34 for Bogey, 36 for Murray, 25 Okongwu, 36 for Jalen Johnson. I like that. I mean, I don't really want to mess with Bam on the inside too much. Brandon's asking if Bogdan's starting. I expect he does start. That seems to be the most likely. We're projecting Murray, Bogdanovich, Bey, Johnson, and Capella. We've seen Trent Forrest. Look at that bench for Atlanta. Okongwu, who's kind of sort of someone interesting because he's cheap enough. Then you got Gary Bird, Trent Forrest, AJ Griffin, Seth Lundy, who's had, I think he's started a game at least once this year. I'm not saying you play him. Patty Mills, Bruno Fernando. Atlanta's got to blow it up, man. It's over. Like, your run, whatever run you had, it's done. You got to hit the reset button. And I saw Murray's one of the most likely guys to get traded at some point. Got to move on. Got to change this thing. Personally, I would try to keep Murray and move Young if I could. I don't know what the contract situation is there, but yeah, give me the power rankings for Hawks and then the runbacks for Miami.
Bogey and Murray, then Sadiq Bey and Jalen are the next. So that's the top 4 for me. Okongwu, maybe, but it's not the best matchup for them the bigs against Miami. But I really am interested more about Miami because I think Miami's going to play really well in this game. So Jimmy, I'm interested in Bam. I'm also interested in Tyler Hero. just because of minutes and shots. And Atlanta is really, really poor at defending the 3-point line. He could get a bunch of steals in this game. This is a good matchup for a lot of these Heat guys. So, do we have word on Duncan? What are we expecting with Duncan Robinson?
He's questionable. I think it happened today in practice, so who knows? We do have an if-then set up for it. Let's see. I don't know.
They've also been hinting. They've also been talking about a lineup change too, but
because Lowry's terrible. And Jovic might get
put out. Who's terrible is the mini-me Nikola Jovic.
He's got some skills. He's just really raw. I think he's still like 19 or 20 years old. He's pretty young. But they hit on Hawkins.
You can't trust these young guys. Did you guys play Double G last night? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
G squared.
I looked at the ownership. I was, good God.
Did you know before you played him, he's the youngest player in the NBA?
Yeah, I knew he was 19. We talked about it yesterday. And I was, in his 83 minutes, I knew it was like a fragile thing, but I thought he would get much more run. And it was so funny. We also talked about Triple J getting in foul trouble, and he was awesome last night, but he also got in foul trouble. He did both. Like, he was smashing and fouling, like he always does. I think he had like 25 points in the bucket in the first half, but then he found himself just hacking everybody in the second half, and would have been really frustrating if you played
Steve,
him. Watch
that video. Did you Google it?
Let's not play the video for the people, I should say.
No, never.
By the way, James Johnson. Remember James Johnson, the old neck tat? He just signed with Indiana a 10-day contract. So maybe that means – what does that mean? Does that mean like possibly – well, we know that Jackson's out, right, tonight? I guess did they have an open spot? I thought they released somebody. Didn't Indiana like just releasing somebody in part due to the trade that went down? No Jackson tonight. We still have Toppin, Mathurin, Naismith, questionable, Halliburton, Pascal in. I wonder if that means Johnson's available tonight, or that news just came. I don't know how long it takes to figure that out, but that's worth noting. We should spin the wheel for the people. We got 2 more games. We got crunch time on layaway. Kevin Roth. We got the Taylors. Taylor Smith. Taylor J. Zwarych. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel.
The Taylors.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Here we go. The first one.
I got green, blue.
We get some music.
Vanilla.
We get music.
No music
I don't
today.
like any of the music.
Devin had me dancing last time though when he was doing it.
What do we got here? Oh,
Richard's out. Get your PJ Washington.
Ooh, Eagles Nation.
Oh,
that's snuck in there.
There's something good happened for Eagles Nation this week. There you go.
All right, let's remove him, and we'll do one more.
And are you going to sneak in and hook them up, Steve? I'm going
to message them in the Discord and let them know.
Awesome. Brandon saying it's rigged until he wins. Let's see if we can get Brandon a W.
Brandon!
Buff Daddies.
Buff Daddies. There you go. Shout out to Buff Daddies.
I saw the B. I thought it was Brandon.
All right. Congrats, guys. Shoot you a message in the Discord.
All right, so the first 5 games are all tipping off between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then we chill for a couple hours because the Pacers take on the Blazers at 10 o'clock, and at 10:30, the Lakers take on the Nets. We kind of mentioned the Pacers and the Blazers. It's a little bit tricky, as it tends to be. We're getting some news here. Anything interesting? Oh, Richards is ruled out for Charlotte. So, by God, that's PJ Washington's music. I think. I wonder if he would start. He wouldn't start, but he would close. They might start Mensah. He's really smart. I don't know how good he is at basketball. Did you get that?
Of course I did.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But that definitely matters. I think Richards being out definitely matters. Is the chat booing me on that one? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that one. I'll see myself out. That was not a good joke. But all right. Yeah. Let's talk about the Pacers and a lot of like if-then stuff, I suppose. And even the Blazers have some if-then stuff. 237 is the total. The Blazers are 5-6 point dogs here. Big deal is midday downgrade in Anthony Simons. He's ill. DeAndre Ayton apparently found a path outside of his house, and he is able to get to the arena. So he's probable with his knee. Shaedon Sharpe is out, which is kind of a big deal there for Portland. There is a path for a Malcolm Brogdon revenge game, especially if Anthony Simons doesn't go. As far as Indiana, again, no Isaiah Jackson, no Nembhard. Mathurin, we don't know. Questionable. Toppin, questionable. Naismith, questionable. Halliburton and Pascal in. Do we think Pascal gets full minutes right out the gate?
Yeah.
I thought the funniest thing is with the Pacers, how if he gets like 27 minutes, just like that, that's just like he's just treated like all the other bigs they have. They all get 26 minutes. But yeah, I assume what are we giving him? I don't think we're giving him like full throttle.
This is the perfect setup for him.
He should thrash against these guys, right?
Yeah, he should absolutely.
We're giving Halliburton 34. We're giving Halliburton 33, Pascal 34. And that's the other thing. Do we think Halliburton gets full minutes? That's basically full. And, he hasn't played in, 10 days or something like that? When was the last time he saw Halliburton? It looked like it was going to be worse if you watched that game. But certainly the matchup here against Portland, obviously. Yeah, we have not seen Halliburton in about 5 or 6 games. Last game he played was on the 8th, so 11 days ago. Quick recovery. He'll be back to the All-Star game, which is pretty cool because that is in Indiana this season. And I'm assuming he's going to be an All-Star. He better be an All-Star. It would be silly if he's not. How are you handling this game? Best you can do with the information we have. 6:07 on the East Coast.
Yeah. So, and then if you have to worry about the blowout potential with Halliburton back and if Simons doesn't play. They just don't have much scoring. So, there's a lot of things, but like this game overall should be good. Both teams are horrible on the defensive end. This would be a good game for Simons to score. He's so bad against good defenders and good defensive teams that I'm always looking for like the right matchup with him, and this would be it. So, but I guess we got to assume that he's probably not going to play. So
we have an if then. I didn't want to cut you off, but I just wanted to say we do have an if then. And Jeremy Grant looks pretty good. 36 minute projection, 38 DK point median projection, really strong. But the one jumping off the page is our old friend Malcolm Brogdon. 32 minutes, 37 DK points. Is he going to get that many minutes? The minutes have been creeping up for him in the absence of Sharpe. And if now Sharpe and Simons are out, I think Brogdon can be really interesting. And then trade him right after this game. Let him go nuts and then trade him instantly. What do you got? I cut you off because I just want to throw it out there.
No, so I guess it's a good sign that he played 30 in the last one because his minutes had been down for a while. So with the situation, and his price tag is good at $5,400. I can get behind that. Scoot is the easy guy because he's going to be out there all game and blow out whatever.
He's 7K though, which is that's the thing. Yeah, you say he's and he had an awesome game against Phoenix where he played 40 minutes and put 33 points in the bucket. And we know the talent's there. He's still, super raw, obviously inefficient, but the opportunity is going to be there. 7K though is like, wow. I did not expect to see that tag. What is he on FanDuel? Is he also
Jabari Walker?
He's fine.
He's a Yahoo play tonight.
Is he like $10 over there?
12.
Scoop, by the way, 6'5" on FanDuel, so more playable on FanDuel if you get Simons out. On DK, it's tough for me to get there, even at 7K. But we see he has a ceiling, a good one, if everything kind of lines up for him. How likely are you to play Pascal or Halliburton?
I don't know. We haven't seen it together, I really wish that it was Siakam and Halliburton was out because then I would just be like all in on him. I don't know. They're in contention, but I also think they're going to blow out Portland tonight if Simons doesn't play.
Yeah, let's hope so. We got that.
Portland is pathetic.
It's a bad franchise.
Gutless.
It's not I mean, I wouldn't say gutless. Like, it's just, what do you want him to do? Like, nobody ever signs there. And then you're not going to get a big free agent in Portland. That's just how that goes. And, their star, Lillard, gave him all he could. He stuck around longer than he had to. What do you want from the guy? And it's just, they have nothing. Landon in chat's asking about Zach Collins. Is he a good player? Or is he going to pitch count? I like the pitch count term. We think he's a good play, right? And especially, 28 minutes. Is that what we have him for? Let's see. We got him for 26, but I think he can play a couple more, possibly. Even at 26, I think he's playable, right? He's playable 26 minutes?
Yes.
Anything else you want to say as far as Indiana and Portland, or shall we talk about Brooklyn and the Lakers?
Trying to find my guy a good play for under 5K in the flex spot on DK. What do you like?
What's the price?
Under 5K.
Let's see. Any position?
Flex.
Yeah. Well, I guess it can't be 5-1 Washington. You said under 5K. It can't be Washington. Fultz is playable. I think he's playable, but we saw his minutes
Washington.
Up a little bit.
If you could find an extra 100 or 200, get to Washington.
You want Washington?
That's the way to go. Trying to see who else.
So Matt and Chow, he's getting on me saying that's
Fultz,
what he's saying. Collins is going to play 22 to 24 minutes in his opinion. Tell me it's an ankle injury. I know, but I'm just telling you what our projection says, and it is a projection. It's a median projection. And would I be shocked if Zach Collins played 22 minutes? 22 minutes would be surprising. I think he plays like at least 23, 24.
I think there's a chance for more, for sure.
But it's a tough projection to make. It's fair to raise the question. That's why we're talking about it. We don't know what he's going to get. But sometimes you lean in on it. If you lean in on it, sometimes it works out for you. We talked about yesterday about Bagley. It's Bagley had like a 27-minute projection, whatever it was. But it's there's no centers in this team. This guy can play 35 minutes. And he did. But, you didn't really know. It was his first time there. It's tough to put a number on it. Anyways, we should talk about this last game on the slate. That is the Lakers. The Lakers are taking on the Nets, 225.5. That is the total. Lakers are 7-point favorites here. As always, LeBron, are you sitting down? LeBron is questionable with an ankle. Anthony Davis expected to play. He's probable with his Achilles. Reddish is out. No big deal. For Brooklyn, nothing new here. Daron Sharp is still out. You need those big bodies there versus the Lakers there. Without one, Mikal Bridges good to go with his shin. What's our read when it comes to Brooklyn and the Lake Show?
Anthony Davis, really strong spot for him.
He's been awesome all season long. I don't think people are giving him the flowers. I don't know whatever term you want to use.
I feel bad for people who get told that they got to do a Lakers what if again every day.
I don't think they bother. I don't think they bother with LeBron.
Do they just copy and paste it? Is they know we have one up there.
Do we really? That seems like a waste of time. Do a different one because LeBron's gonna play 98% of the time. But I guess it's good to be prepared, I suppose. Yeah, Reeves and Russell would get the biggest bumps. Davis already would get a bump, but he's already bumped high enough. But those three would all be values. Davis, Russell, and Reeves. We expected that. Yeah. Maybe we'll get Duncan Robinson news now too. Follow-up question there, Coach Spo. What about
D'Lo's been really good, Mr. Richard. I don't
revenge
mind.
game.
I don't mind little revenge. I'm
fine with it. Yeah. And I guess there's a little bit of value there that the off chance LeBron is out. I don't think he's going to be out, but would be pretty shocked if he sits. Friday night. This is the back half of the ESPN doubleheader. I assume it's got to be right. There's no way it's Indiana, Portland. Brooklyn versus the Lakers. And the answer is almost always Davis over LeBron, right? If you're picking between those two.
I got a little excited lately with point LeBron, but the answer AD is definitely the guy.
How do you feel about Claxton? You like Claxton at center here? He's a little bit more priced than some of the other guys. They kind of need him versus Davis.
Absolutely need it. So if he stays out of foul trouble, he should get a boatload of minutes in this game.
Yeah, I just don't know. If I land on it, so be it. But I suspect I'm not going to. I haven't run stuff. Obviously, I make my lineups after the show because news is always kind of trickling in on through. I know crunch time's coming in a few minutes. You got Roth, you got the Taylors jumping on board. Anything else you want to say as far as late? Oh, go ahead. What do you got?
My two favorite plays on Brooklyn would be Claxton and Bridges. My two favorite plays on the Lakers would be Davis and D'Angelo Russell, and then maybe Point LeBron.
You have a player.
But I like Anthony better. So
it sounds like we kind of talked about it. We like games. We like this game, that game, and that game. But like 3 other games, we're like, we can just kind of cross them out. Is there a game that you're most afraid of not having anything of that's gonna get out of hand and that's gonna break you tonight?
Sorry, say it again. I was reading my man J3 just shouted me out, saw my name, and I stopped listening for a second.
Is there a game that you're most afraid of not having like a little game stack or any players from that might, again, you make one lineup, and we're talking about there's several games. We're basically crossing.
I'm probably not going to play anybody on Boston, Denver, but I actually think somebody's going to, I think this game's going to be really good. I think it's going to have a lot of scoring. It's going to be tight. It's going to have tighter rotations than normal. And so I'm scared about, not having anybody in there.
That'd be my answer too. I'm afraid of not having enough of that game, and it's not great math stuff, but I might force some Boston at Denver. Do you have a feel the plums play? And somebody that's breaking the slate for you? And I want you to be ambitious if you can.
So it's got to be organic. Like I'll give the people my football play that came to me on. We recorded the podcast today. The 20 takes. Our last one, we smashed last week. We gave out the blueprint, and the field of my pumps came to me that I think is the best play on the slate is going to be Christian Watson. So
I don't like that call. I don't like that call.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel even better. Makes me feel even better.
They're playing whack-a-mole receiver there in Green Bay, but Christian Watson feels like he's like the 3rd or 4th option. But I don't know. Okay,
no, he's off the injury report. He's inexpensive. He's 4,200. So he's in the same range as the 50% owned Josh Reynolds and Jameson Williams. What can go wrong there? And then you've got. And in a game where they should be trailing, and plus Love doesn't like to check down a lot, I think Watson is a smash. This is when they bust him out. You're going to see because he's
tell the people about the tournament. Is it already out there? The Tournament Takes podcast has it been dropped?
Should be. We recorded it earlier today. That's why I'm not as prepared for NBA as I normally am. But it should be out there. But if the people if you go, you listen on to that, you're going to get my generational UFC bet it's a max bet for me.
Oh boy. All right. There's a one reason to click on it for sure. We do have Roth. We do have the Taylors, Taylor Smith, Taylor J Zwarych. Y'all know him as TJ. What's up, Roth? How's Friday? How's Friday treating you? We made it through the week.
Yeah. We're cruising. Life is good, man.
Are you watching some basketball tonight? I know you're Luka's not playing, but we have real life basketball, Roth, like Celtics, Denver on national TV. No, I see a head shake. You got bigger plans than that?
No, I don't. I just kind of. Is there anything that really stands out? No, I think I'm gonna watch Brother's Son on Netflix. I've been watching that. Good show.
I've just finished it.
Good show.
I really like it. Yeah.
Is that the Michelle Yao show? Is that
yes.
Well,
yes.
We're all watching True Detective here, right?
I haven't started it yet. No spoilers, but I'm going to be on board, of course.
All right,
Fargo.
The
new season of Fargo just ended. I don't know if you guys watched the Fargo on the FX.
My girl's been watching it. Yeah, she's
awesome.
I'm a big fan of all the Fargos. They've had some great seasons. I didn't like the Chris Rock one that much.
The Billy Bob was the best one, right? Number 1.
The guy with the teeth.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Do you know? Yeah, was he? The British guy.
Oh, the guy that was in The Office.
Yeah,
the British version of The Office.
When it was like the tax. No, it was like the tax version, like the tax people.
I think it was the second one. We don't want to bore the people too much with this, but Watch the new Fargo. Watch the new Fargo.
Hey,
Put it on
Dean,
your list.
we got a comment in chat from Hoosiers Hang Banners says RRR is really good on Netflix if anyone's looking for hidden gem. Did you see that movie? Because I freaking loved it.
It's in my queue. It's like 3 hours long. I hear it's outrageous. I hear it's completely wild.
You got to lean into the outrageous, but it's super fun.
Yeah, I hear it's totally wild.
DiCaprio? Is this the Leo one?
No, it's like an Indian. It's like a Bollywood.
Indian.
It's a Bollywood flick. It's fun.
Because I'm not watching that Scorsese. I don't have 3 hours yet to watch that.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah. I watched something called Tiger. It was a Tiger that was a movie from India as well. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that was really interesting too. I'll go ahead and drop that title in chat. I'll Google it if you're interested. It's probably similar. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely want to check out RRR. But myself, Kirkwood, I think we're done with giving our movie takes, our TV takes. Watch the Fargo for sure. Enjoy your weekend. Chiefs win outright at Buffalo. There's my football take for the weekend. How about that? Do stay tuned for Crunch Time, the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got TJ, you got Taylor, you got Roth. Take it away, Roth.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. You can tell we're a little deep in the season now. We're just leaning into anything that is not basketball content. But happy to walk you through the slate here. We got a fun one. It's Friday. We got one game postponed, but plenty of others to dig into. And in order to help break it down to the sharpest minds in the biz, we got Taylor in the house. What up, Taylor?
Not much. A little under the weather, so apologies for my gravelly voice, but gonna power through.
Man, you are not alone. Kirkwood did not sound great yesterday on the show. We had Bobby did not sound good. It's a thing, man. It's going around. Yeah, so hopefully
going around RG.
Oh yeah, right. Somehow. Hopefully you are quick to recover. We got my guy TJ as well. Canadians this time of year do not get sick because they never go outside to interact with one another. They just stay in their bubble because it's negative 40 degrees outside for TJ. What up, TJ?
You know what? That'd be great if that were the case. But nothing shuts down here. You know, we just go on as normal. People go to work. I'm gonna be later next week gonna be doing some outdoor picketing with my wife because all the teachers in the province are striking. So we just go on. We hang out outside and we live our lives.
I can't imagine picketing when it's like 40 degrees outside. Like that's hardcore, man. Good for you.
Going out to a movie tonight, going to see American Fiction in theaters.
Goodness. Okay. Well, way to live your life, man. Don't let that weather control you. Hey, the people are not here for weather talks or show talks. They're here for NBA content. And that, as it turns out, is what we do best. So I think we dive right into it, Taylor. If you wouldn't mind giving us a general overview, and then we'll jump right into a little cash build on FanDuel. Then we'll get to DK. Then we'll take your questions as always. Taylor?
Yeah, I think the biggest news so far is that Trae Young and Wemby are both out. We have the San Antonio-Charlotte game, which is starting at 7 Eastern. That's going to be a really popular target. High total game, two really awful teams defensively. Tight spread. So that's going to be something we get to quite a bit, especially in cash games. And, of course, Atlanta without Trae Young is going to be quite the target as well. They're playing Miami, so it's not a good matchup at Miami. But the spread's not too wide. None of the spreads on this slate are big, so that's worth noting. We've had a lot of blowouts lately, but tonight, hopefully, things will stay relatively close all around. So, yeah, DeJounte Murray without Trae is going to be kind of the core piece on Atlanta. He's 8,100 on FanDuel, either guard spot eligible. Easy cash play, even against the Heat. The other point guard really popping is Anthony Simons. He's questionable, got the midday downgrade with illness. But I think that's happened before and he played through it like somewhat recently. Not that that's indicative of his status tonight, but if he plays, he looks good. If he doesn't, Malcolm Brogdon's going to really emerge as a great play. He's already a decent play on DK at 5,400. Simons missing would also make Jeremy Grant look a bit better and maybe Scoot Henderson. So there is value to be had. That is a late game. So maybe keep some spots open in case the news hits that Simons is out. A few more point guard options. Jeremy Sohan looks good in that Spurs game. Better value on DK than FanDuel. Jamal Murray is popping in optimal is a good way to get exposure to that Celtics Nuggets game. It's two good defensive teams, but it had a relatively tight spread, and they are both good, so it should be competitive throughout, hopefully. Kyle Lowry's cheap. Markelle Fultz is cheap. Don't really want to get to that if I can avoid it. Shooting guard options, Bogdan Bogdanovic, for the same reason. DeJounte looks good. He looks good for the Hawks. Even off the bench, he's going to get tons of usage, 6,100 on FanDuel. Happy to play him at shooting guard or small forward. Devin Vassell should be the usage leader for the Spurs with Wemby out. He looks quite good against Charlotte, 6,900 on FanDuel. Ben Mathurin, another option here. He's questionable for the Pacers, who have a lot of questionable tags tonight. But it is worth noting that Halliburton and Siakam are likely to play, or they are going to play. So he might lose some usage even if he's in, but not a bad kind of mid-range play even if he does play. Sadiq Bey, another Hawk, either forward spot, 5,800. Easy guy to slot into cash game. Should play huge minutes with DeAndre Hunter still out for Atlanta. Jabari Walker, we are expecting DeAndre Ayton to make it through the ice to the arena tonight, but still playing a good role for the Blazers. Indiana's a great matchup on the second half of a back-to-back. So he's a nice little mid-range play at 5,600, either forward spot eligible. On the other side of the Spurs game, we have Miles Bridges playing quite a few minutes for Charlotte. Not a bad value here. Nick Richards is out, so front court minutes are available for him and PJ Washington, and perhaps Nathan Mensah, a rookie that could start with Richards out. I mentioned Washington. He looks really good, 5,900. Yet another guy who's a better value on DK, but still very much in play on FanDuel. Let's see. Zach Collins, maybe 6,300, power forward center on FanDuel. He's going to start with Wemby out. He's been out for like a month, so there could be a bit of a minutes limit on him, but Charlotte in the front court is so shorthanded and bad to begin with that Collins can still kind of rack him up in 24-ish minutes in that starting role. And the center popping into most lineups on FanDuel is Nick Claxton for 7,500 against the Lakers. Minutes are secure for him. Brooklyn will need size against AD and LeBron, so he's grading out as the cash game center on FanDuel.
Did you mention PJ Washington?
Very good. Well, let's kick it over to tournaments. And for that, okay. Let's bring in TJ. He mentioned PJ Washington. I assume you like him. But I want to know what you think in tournaments, TJ.
Sorry, I think I might have got like a weird delay there for a second. That was my bad. Yeah, I think I'll gonna kind of go general strategy and then save position by position because it's very, very similar on the two sites today.
I like it.
Basically, the only difference is there's some guys who on DraftKings are even cheaper than they are on FanDuel. But we just got news that PJ Washington is going to be starting for Charlotte. That's the one thing I wanted to mention. We projected him before to be coming off the bench and Nathan Mensah to be starting and kind of playing, the token start the first quarter, start the third quarter. But Washington is in the starting lineup. And so that confirms that, like, to me, I think he is the very top play on the slate. I have him in 85% of my lineups. I'm playing 20. He's in 17 of them. The only 3 that don't have him have Mensah. And I'm just kind of playing that as a blowout. And I'm running. I saw Flying Armbar in chat with the question, favorite GPP sneaky studs and cheapies. And then which are your 2 favorite games to stack in tournaments? Well, one of them is definitely San Antonio and Charlotte. That's number 1 by far for me. Play some PJ Washington, play some Zach Collins, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Sohan, Vassell, Miles Bridges, everybody. Or the way I like doing it, and I do think there are 2 ways to go about it. Instead of stacking it that way, and I would only do this if I'm playing multiple lineups. Maybe if I'm playing 3, I do 2 stacks of it, stacking up like the starters, and then the other one I play the blowout. And in that one, I'd look at maybe playing some a Nathan Mensah at 3,800, or preferably a Dominic Barlow. Oh, on FanDuel, he's actually power forward eligibility. So you can play Mensah, Barlow, and Malachi Branham together. But that's more of a DraftKings thing where all of them are below 4K and actually provides some pretty great value and a way of getting different. You stack up the blowout instead of the starters. But having said that, like I said, I have 85% PJ Washington today. That is definitely my primary game stack. The next one for me, I think you can go Atlanta, Miami, but I think the most interesting one actually is Indiana and Portland. That's a pretty big spread, but that if Portland somehow manages to keep it close, that game is going to absolutely smash the total. It's really one of those things that the total, I think, to me is a little bit of a hedge. It's like one of those things that if it stays close, it's going to go way higher. If Indiana blows them out, it could go way lower than that just because the starters aren't in the game for the fourth quarter. So you can play Anthony Simons. He's one of the top plays on the slate. Walker is great. Mathurin is great if he plays. If he doesn't, Hield is. That's the thing with this one is there's a lot of questionable players, but there's also a lot of players that you can just throw in their place. So, for example, Mathurin and Neesmith are questionable. Well, if they're out, Buddy Hield at 5,700 now becomes one of the very best plays on the slate. Simons, he's great if he's in, but if he's out, well, now Malcolm Brogdon and Scoot Henderson are two of the very best plays on the slate because Indiana is a wonderful matchup, especially with Tyrese Halliburton back. They're going to be playing faster now. So that would probably be my sneakier tournament game stack. And then Atlanta, Miami would be fine as well, with San Antonio and Charlotte being the number one game stack on the slate for me. The main teams I'm targeting, and this goes for both sites, it's Charlotte and San Antonio. Of course, like I mentioned, all my highest owned players are from that game. Then it's going to be Atlanta as the next team with no Trae Young, that he just has such a huge usage rate that makes such a big difference. And then finally, those Indiana and Portland players will be who I'm going to the most in tournaments. Even though Halliburton's back, Nemhard's out, so I don't mind taking a shot on somebody like a TJ McConnell, or if you think that game does stay close, well, then play your Simons or Brogdon and run them alongside a Siakam who's underpriced. Siakam's going to, obviously it's a new situation. We don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but especially on FanDuel where he's priced down, Siakam, if he plays mid 30 minutes, he's having almost as big of a pace up spot as you can imagine going from Toronto to Indiana.
Yeah, and they didn't get him to play him 25 minutes.
Exactly. It's just because this is his first game. Yeah. Just because this is his first game with the team, but they're also undermanned. So if he plays 36 minutes on Indiana with Halliburton, he could break the slate. As a Raptors fan, I'm thrilled with this trade. We just got 3 first-round picks for a guy who's a free agent in the summer. That's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But I think this system fit is absolutely perfect for Siakam. So I think he's going to thrive. You can play him there. And then just that Portland guard situation is what I'm really interested in, because if Simons plays, he's great. If he doesn't, I want to get to as much of Brogdon and Scoot as possible. I probably would not have a lineup that didn't have at least one of Brogdon or Scoot.
Very good. Okay. I like it. That makes a lot of sense. So we should note the show, by the way, sponsored by FanDuel. You bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Those of you in the great state of Vermont, you now have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook as well. Special offer for you. Bet $5. You get $200 in bonus bets on any market. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. With that out of the way, let's kick it to DK. Taylor, I just built an absolute squad. I love my DK team. And Siakam was one of those pieces that he's not cheap, but I do love the idea of that role that he could be in there. Why don't you walk us through what we should be doing, and I'll find out how chalky I am.
Yeah, I think if you have Siakam, you're not going to be chalky at all, even if the rest of your lineup is chalky. That could be enough.
Perfect. I'll take it.
So yeah, I guess the issue with the optimum on DK is you get a lot of Spurs, you get a lot of Hornets, you're getting a lot of Hawks, and these games start 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock tonight. So the Simons news, assuming it comes out later, you can't account for it in the current projections. So maybe one way, if you do want to wait on the news, is to just build with Simons. And if he's out, maybe leave 2 spots open for the late games. If he's out, you pivot down to Brogdon and up to Jeremy Grant, depending on who else you have in your lineup. But the early plays do look great, so I certainly wouldn't say you're doing it wrong to build that way. LaMelo Ball on DraftKings for 8,800 is just way too cheap against San Antonio. Great matchup. Minutes are trending in the right direction after he came back from his ankle injury, so great spot for him. Easy cash play for sure on DK. Terry Rozier, another one, same game, same team. Price tags come down with back, but there's plenty of usage for them. You can play him at shooting guard if you'd like. I think he might be shooting guard only, actually, on DK. Yeah, so those are both good cash plays. DeJounte Murray, of course, fine as well, 7,500. He's someone you could maybe play Simons instead of. Like the Hawks are playing the Heat. I don't know if DeJounte is an absolute must-have in cash, even though he does look great. Simons is comparable at least for 300 more. A few other options. Devin Vassell looks quite good. D'Angelo Russell playing a lot more minutes these days in the starting lineup. Still in the low sixes on DK. Like they never price up the Lakers for whatever reason, and he's still a little underpriced for that role. And Brooklyn is a good matchup. Brogdon's cash viable on DK at 5.4, even if Simons is in. Minutes got back up to 30 in the last game. I do think there's fragility there just because they were kind of phasing him out before, but he's cheap enough to where I think you can take the shot on that. And obviously he's like the best play on the slate if Simons is out. Shooting guard, I mentioned Rozier, I mentioned DeJounte, Bogdanovic, close to a core play and someone I think you probably have to have in DK cash for 5.6. Julian Champagny is starting for the Spurs. He's a decent punt for 3,500 just because we don't have many options sub 4K these days. Not the most comfortable play, but in cash, it's fine. Let's see. Sadiq Bey, Keldon Johnson, kind of mid-range forwards you can target. Keldon off the bench should still see plenty of usage for the Spurs. A little pricey. He's been a little inconsistent lately, but no Wemby clears quite a bit of usage for that team, of course. Mentioned Bay. Jeremy Grant is underpriced. He's, relatively underpriced. He's 6,800. TJ mentioned great matchup against Indiana. He'll become a better play if Simon sits, more usage for him and the other Blazers. PJ Washington now 5-1. He's got to be a core play in cash. Power forward center starting for the Hornets. Should see 30 plus minutes in the best game environment on the slate. Sohan, power forward only on DK. He's another guy that gets a lot more playmaking and stuff with Wemby out of the lineup. Very easy way to get more exposure to this game if you want it. Miles Bridges for 71. That's the cheapest he's been in a while, it seems. For Charlotte, yet more exposure. He could push for 40 minutes with Richards out and Mark Williams out. Onyeka Okongwu, even off the bench for the Hawks, he's cheap. He's 4,200. Going to be pretty chalky in tournaments, so I'm not sure I love that, but obviously not a big factor for cash. And then at center, Washington, Miles Bridges, Okongwu, Zach Collins is in play over here for 5.6, and Claxton as well for 7K flat. If you can slot him into maybe a utility spot, he's someone you could potentially pivot away from if the Simons news breaks a certain way.
Okay, very good. TJ, you said you would hold off on your position by position until DK. And here we are, good sir. We are on DK. Why don't you walk us through the build?
Yeah, let's do it. And so hold on. I'm just actually adjusting one last lineup because I wanted to make a little correlation better. There we go. So point guard position today, DeJounte Murray is my highest owned guy, but I also do have 40% each of Malcolm Brogdon and Anthony Simons today. All of that Simons will change to Scoot Henderson if he's out, and I honestly like Brogdon either way. So I'll try and find some more pivots to Brogdon because he is so cheap here on DraftKings. If Simons was out, like ideally if we knew Simons was out right now, I'd probably pretty close to just lock button Brogdon. But as it stands right now, I have 40% each of them, and I'll make that pivot to Scoot if he's out. LaMelo Ball, I have about 30% of. Markelle Fultz, about 25. Those are all going to be decently highly owned guys, and they're all just, to me, good chalk. All of those guys are, to me, pretty good chalk. I have D'Angelo Russell at about 20% too, about the field there. And then Trey Jones, also at about the field 10%. Like, it's just such a strong position, and I like all these guys. I'm not making any hard stands. Outside of, I have 3 players here who are going to pick up next to, like, no ownership that I'm sprinkling in my 20 lineups. TJ McConnell, who I mentioned previously, he's cheaper here on DraftKings. If that game turns into a blowout, McConnell plays the whole fourth quarter, he could have 40 fantasy points. And then Malachi Branham, same thing in that Charlotte and San Antonio game. He's so darn cheap now that if that game gets ugly, or if San Antonio just does a thing which they do sometimes and says, hey, we're going to start all of our backups in the second half. Well, I do have some stacks that are Branham and Barlow with a Mensa on the Charlotte side of things. And then finally, Bradley Beal. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's not very expensive. Matchup is strong against the Pelicans, and he's projecting for less than 1% ownership. I love Bradley Beal in tournaments. Shooting guard position, a few of the same guys, Malcolm Brogdon, Anthony Simons, Bradley Beal, but I'm also getting to a lot of Bogdanovic, some Terry Rozier in that first game, and then Devin Vassell in that game as well. And then Devin Booker is somebody that if you're playing a lot of lineups, 2% projected own right now, pretty easy to get over the field on. Small forward, a lot of the same teams, Portland and Atlanta and San Antonio with Sadiq Bey. Jeremy Grant is a low-owned tournament play I like. Julian Champagnie I really like. We kind of thought Jimmy Butler might have his minutes limited a little bit when he was coming back here, but he hasn't so far. We want to play a ton of Atlanta guys. This is actually a better matchup for Miami. Even though they're getting healthier, I still think Jimmy Butler is a great play at 7,600. Jason Tatum is another one of those guys that, like, if you're playing a bunch of lineups, very easy to get overweights on him, who's projecting for like 5% right now. Power forward, PJ Washington is in 85% of my lineups. The only ones he is not in have Victor Mensah, just as like that's going to be a blowout. So it's pretty darn close to a lock button for Washington for me. Just 17 of my 20 lineups. Onyeka Okongwu is way too cheap. Jeremy Sohan is nice here. Miles Bridges is probably my favorite. Somewhat spend up at the position. Alongside like a Jalen Johnson. If I'm paying all the way up, I like Anthony Davis. I don't mind Zion Williamson in lineups that I'm playing Suns players. So in a lineup, I have Durant. In a lineup, I have Booker. In a lineup, I have Beal. That's where I'm playing my Zion Williamson. And then Kristaps Porzingis is another guy I think it's interesting to mix in for tournaments. There's a lot of really strong tournament plays at the power forward position today. Zach Collins is my highest owned center. There's been a lot of questions about him. He's coming off of a large injury. Because it's Charlotte, I do have interest in playing him anyways. Like, even if he only plays 25 minutes at that price tag, he could still have a good game. And then if he plays 34, you're going to need to have him. Having said that, I am still playing Dominic Barlow in a couple lineups because he is, like, if Zach Collins is limited and those two just split the minutes at the 5, Barlow is by far the better play. And so he's someone who's coming in at like 3% ownership at the center position. I'm getting to a little bit of him as well. Also trying to double the field on Joel Embiid. He's coming in pretty low owned today. It's not a great spot against Orlando, but we know Embiid can smash against absolutely anybody. So he's one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate as well. And I'm also getting to a lot of Clint Capella.
Okay. Very good. Guys, we still have 16 minutes here until lock. Do have some questions coming in, but let's see if there's anything else Taylor wants to add before we dive into it. You got any final thoughts here? A feel it in your plums play of the day, perhaps?
I do like the Embiid call because absolutely no one's playing him, and it seems like a balanced build is probably the way people are building, and as a result, Embiid and maybe AD will go a little overlooked.
Okay, very good. Jumping into the RG Discord right now, seeing if we got anything good. This is kind of cool. We got this tag in the Discord. This is the first time I've seen it that says Sim Labs is officially updated. It's because I'm not in the live stream chat. I'm in the NBA. By the way, if you're like, Sim Labs, what in the world is Sim Labs? Well, let me tell you, friends, we're using the power of the Sims. It's the newest thing we've got going on. It is still, for now, free. It will eventually move behind the paywall, but right now it's in beta. You're basically using game simulations to build hundreds of correlated, smart, well thought out lineups here, and you can do it like that. It's really, really neat. I highly recommend you check it out. We got the link in the description. Did I say Sim Labs or Sims Lab? You know, I screwed up every time. Whichever one I said was the wrong one. Let's dive into the QQs.
No, you nailed it. It's not Sims Labs. These just messing with you. It's Sim Labs.
I can't. Whatever it is, I'm going to do it wrong. And if I do it right, I'm going to think I did it wrong. It's Sims Lab in my mind. FanDuel single entry. If Simons is out, would it be okay to play all three of Scoot, Brogdon, and Grant together in a FanDuel single entry. Parentheses, I also have Turner at center.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Play them all.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I mean, there's enough usage with no Simons to go around.
Okay,
for sure.
Great. D-Rock says DK GPP. TJ, you want Brown or Ingram?
Brown.
We'll go to a FanDuel cash question. Taylor, this one's coming to you. Brogdon or Sohan in FanDuel?
I think Brogdon, just because on FanDuel in particular, he's not going to be as popular. And he's potentially the best play on the slate.
Okay, great. FanDuel GPP, it's a good question from Boolies. TJ, are there any lineup rules you are specifically creating? I do feel like, I don't know if this is a hard and fast rule, but it was either PJ Washington or his backup, or the dude or the blowout run idea.
Yeah. So I have like in the build rules sections, I've customized a whole bunch of things. In the player group sections, I have about 20 player groups. And so there is a lot, but some of the more important ones, in terms of like at least one player in each of these lineups. Yeah, it's PJ Washington and Nathan Mensah. It's I will only play Malachi Branham in lineups that also have Dominic Barlow. And then if there is those Mensah lineups, I'm not playing any of the Charlotte starters either. Any of the Spurs starters either. And so I'm just making sure that I'm only playing the backups with the backups and the starters with the starters.
Okay, very good. Makes a lot of sense, sir. What else do we have here? This is a good one. And TJ, I guess I'll give this to you too. It is a DK GPP question. What do you have as the max player set for those good spots like Spurs, Hawks, Hornets? What's the most you feel you can have in these games?
3. So Spurs, Hornets, Hawks, and Blazers, those 4 teams. I have minimum 1, maximum 3 of each of them. The Pacers, Nets, and Lakers, I have a maximum of 2. And then every other team, it's a max of 1.
Okay, excellent. Any teams that we can completely discard? TJ, you mentioned every other team you've got a max of 1. Is there any teams that you have a max of 0?
I don't think there's any teams that I have no one in the player pool. Philly, I just have Embiid. Orlando, I only have Fultz and Wendell Carter. I have no Nuggets. So no Jokic, no Nuggets at all. I axed them completely out. Tatum and Porzingis, the only Boston ones. Zion, the only Pelican. But Denver's the only team I X'd out completely.
But that doesn't mean that you can't play Jokic, right? It doesn't make Jokic a bad play, right?
No, he's never a bad play, but even if I was running 150, I'd still have him X'd out because any lineup I was playing Jokic, I'd rather play Embiid.
Okay, that's fair.
Like Jokic is projecting for 7% ownership and Embiid 11. That difference is nothing, especially on a slate this big. Like 100 times out of 100, I'd rather play Embiid.
Interesting. Okay, let's bring in Taylor here just to mix it up. FanDuel single entry question for you, Taylor. Do you mind starting your build with Simons and Mathurin, and then if Simons gets ruled out, pivoting to Scoot and Broggy? He's trying to wait for that. He's trying to basically decide if waiting for that news is worth it.
Yeah, starting with Simons is great. Mathurin is fine, but he will probably get squeezed from a usage standpoint with Halliburton and Siakam in there. So, I mean, if you can try to find someone else, I would advise that. I'm trying to see what Mathurin is. He's 5'5". Jabari Walker for 5'6". We have him at 29 minutes. Maybe that's an alternative if you're looking for someone in that range. Or Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, Mathurin's fine as a placeholder, and just maybe hope the news breaks your way.
Okay, great. DK GPP question. I'll come right back to you here, Taylor. Trey Jones or Derek White?
Trey Jones, no doubt.
TJ, any cheap options that you like in a FanDuel GPP? He's trying to get to Embiid, but he's not really finding a lot of value. Is that where you're hoping for kind of the blowout narrative?
Yeah, you can play some of those boat guys from the San Antonio Charlotte game, but it's not quite as juicy on FanDuel as it is on DraftKings. But some of my favorite salary savers over there, like, well, let's say below 5K, because they are few and further between on FanDuel. It's much easier to get those expensive guys on DraftKings. But who do we maybe like on FanDuel? It's tough. Like I like a balanced build quite a bit more over there because there aren't like many of the full out punts that I'm okay with going to. But let me look at Portland. Maybe is there anybody super cheap here? No, like I guess like the Mensa thing would probably be my favorite super cheapie, but he's also a center, so you can't play him with Embiid. I probably just wouldn't do it over there.
Okay, that's fair.
12-4 12. He's 12-4 instead of 11-5. And there's so much less value. Like I just don't think I'd be getting there on FanDuel.
Okay. FanDuel single entry question, Taylor. I'll give this one to you. Any Brandon Miller tonight? I actually saw another person ask that in the YouTube chat. Said landing on a lot of Brandon Miller. Where do you stand on that one?
I don't think that's bad. He will lose usage compared to what he was, playing with before with LaMelo and Rozier in. But Charlotte's thin in the front court. We have him at 29 minutes here. 5.3 is a reasonable price tag and a good game environment. So I don't think that's the worst place to land.
Okay. FanDuel cash question, Taylor, back to you here. Jamal Murray. I'm not sure anyone brought his name up. So that's interesting to hear. Jamal Murray and Bay or Sohan and Turner?
Slight lean the second one. I think it's a good spot for Miles Turner. So I'd go that way.
Okay, great. Let's see what else we've got here. Jackson says Embiid over Joker, ? That was a affirmative. And any Derek White love? TJ, any Derek White love?
No. I don't have him in my pool at all, but his price has gone down, but it's still a no for me.
Okay. We'll go to Kelly's question here. Best point under 5.6 on FanDuel. TJ, do you have a thought? Was that a hand raise?
Yeah, the one thing I'd say is maybe I'd rank Jokic and Embiid a lot closer together on FanDuel, where Jokic is $600 cheaper. But having said that, I still probably wouldn't play either of them on FanDuel, where I do like Embiid a lot on DraftKings. Was that favorite point guard on FanDuel $5,600 or cheaper?
Good memory. That is exactly what it was.
That would be Fultz.
Okay. We'll go to Brian. He didn't seem thrilled with that by any means. We'll go to Brian Marshall's question. TJ, are you running back Hero and Jimmy B since you have a lot of Murray in DK GPPs? It's a good question.
No Hero, yes Jimmy, and also a little bit of Bam.
A little bit of Bam?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah. Okay, nice. All right, we'll go to Taylor here. We'll bring you in for Steven's question. Your favorite player at small forward on DK?
Let's see what I got here. Sadiq Bey is the one that jumps out immediately. What was that?
That's mine too. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's the easy answer for sure.
Okay. Mr. Irrelevant says, hey, I'm going for it all in a large field DK tournament. Can I play Washington and Mensa together? Can you win it all? No,
absolutely not. Can't play them together.
Correlated. Yeah. Okay. Easy enough.
They probably won't share the floor together for a minute today.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to Joe's question. FanDuel, Taylor, you want Rui or Jetty Osman?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want either. That's the answer to that. If you can do something else, if it's that group, I guess it would be Chetty, just because there's no Wemby, but I don't know. I don't feel good about either.
Yeah, you were audibly disgusted, and TJ's face was maybe even louder than TJ's face was real disgust at those options.
I'd say maybe Josh Richardson over both of them.
Okay. FanDuel question. Yeah, not a good spot to be in there. FanDuel question, TJ, Zinger or Siakam?
I'd actually go Zinger, but I don't hate both of them for tournaments.
Okay. DK GPP, your favorite small forward. Did we do this question or a similar one?
Yeah, we did. Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, it's actually a completely different person, but same question. Can you play Murray and Bog in the same game? I feel like the answer is yeah. Yeah, the show. Best FanDuel GPP center. TJ, who's your favorite center in a FanDuel GPP?
Probably, hold on, just switching here. Favorite center in a FanDuel GPP would probably be maybe Clint Capella.
Okay.
Honestly, still it's PJ Washington for what it's worth. It's still PJ Washington.
Okay. DK Cash question here. Taylor, who would you play for sure from Charlotte, and or in what order do you prioritize your top 4 in cash? That's a pretty difficult question there. Any San Antonio guys you'd play for sure in cash?
So Charlotte, PJ, and LaMelo are the 2 that you definitely want. And Rozier's like honorable mention. Same with Miles Bridges. San Antonio, Sohan, DK Cash for 5,200 is probably the one that stands out the most. But Vassell and Collins and even Champagne are all in play.
Okay, very good. DK GPP question, Taylor, I'll give this one to you. Jeremy Grant and Wendell Carter, or Bay and Brogdon?
Bay and Brogdon, even though it's going to be popular.
Okay. This is a DK single entry question, and these are different price tiers here, but the question is Siakam or Embiid, TJ?
Siakam or Embiid? I would, on DraftKings, I would, from a point per dollar standpoint, I would prioritize Embiid. On FanDuel, I would prioritize Siakam on a point per dollar standpoint.
Great. FanDuel GPP, TJ, right back to you here. Ayton or Jeremy Grant if I'm stacking up the Indy Portland game?
Definitely Grant. Don't play Ayton. He probably won't play very much.
Okay, nice. FanDuel cash question 2v2. Taylor, we got about 2-3 minutes until lock. Hield and Sohan or D'Lo and Brandon Miller?
I think the second one sounds better.
Yeah. What else do we have here? Any minute limits for Halliburton? Have we heard anything about that?
We don't know.
Okay.
It's a hamstring, and he came back way too fast, and it's Portland. I can't imagine he plays more than 30 minutes, but you never know.
I feel like the flip side of that is there's no way they would let him play if he wasn't fully 100% good, right?
Yeah, it's just hamstring is different than everything else. Though 100% good one day, you may not be 100% good even though you feel it. And so, to me, one game to be like, hey, go get your win back a little bit, test it out, see how it feels against a team like Portland where we know we won't need you. That does kind of seem like a reasonable test it out spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my read. I have no idea.
Bottom line is we don't know. Yeah. Okay. No, that does make a certain amount of sense. What else do we have? Is Siakam safe in FanDuel cash from Darren? He's not making your cash list, is he, Taylor?
I think he can, just because he's 7,900 and it's a great spot, and I don't see any reason he'd be limited, of course. So It's not like a thing that comes up in optimizers, but if you land there, I think that's fine.
Okay, great. Less than a minute left. See if we can get a couple more questions. TJ is heading off these questions in the YouTube chat, doing a great job. Hit that like button for us. Paul says, I got 6,200 left. DK Util. I've already got Bay and Bog.
D'Angelo Russell.
Did you answer that one in the chat already?
Just at the last second. Yeah, just at the same time you were answering it, just in case it hit lock. So yeah, D'Angelo Russell on that one. That's kind of like the only option to me. I think anywhere else you'd have to go quite a bit cheaper and leave salary on the table. So D'Angelo Russell.
Okay, very good. With that, we've done it. We've hit the lock. We did get this post-lock question from William in the chat. Let's do it. Any Spencer Dinwiddie thoughts? Taylor, do you have any thoughts?
I saw some murmurs earlier about how he's quiet quitting the Nets, and that's why he's been playing so poorly lately.
Really?
Yeah. Who knows if that's true? He is cheap on DK for 61, but doesn't project too well. I would be kind of hesitant to go there.
You're telling me the guy who took his entire contract in cryptocurrency that tanked is not honoring his contract?
Was I didn't know that about him. Also, I was going to say, I feel like I've heard all kinds of talk about how he's like the consummate professional, but maybe maybe not. If he's just straight up quiet quitting and not trying out there. Okay, hey, I think with that we can bounce on out of here. We are post lock. So for Taylor, for TJ, for our incredible production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, hit us with a little thumbs up on the way out. We appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.